Channel 59 in Chatham, Channel 32 in Windsor.
Cybermen, Spider-Men, Time Monsters, Crotons, who and what are these? Hello, I'm Jim Dator, and welcome to Doctor Who and the Curse of Peladon. And the things I mentioned are various creatures from outer space that Doctor Who has met in the past 10 years. Now, we can't bring you all of those monsters, so what we did was to choose one series that had more interesting outer space creatures than any others, and that's the Curse of Peladon. But we're not trying to say at all that the sort of creatures that you're going to see in this series are actually what people from outer space are going to look like. But we're not going to say that they don't look that way either. No one knows. But many scientists do feel that the universe fairly teems with intelligent life, and the chances you'll make contact with them, and perhaps in your own lifetime. Now, the argument and the reasoning for these people is as follows. The chemical elements that made life possible on our planet exist in many, many other places in the universe. On some of those universes, there was an evolutionary development of life similar to ours. On some of those places, this evolutionary development is ahead of us, in some the same, and in some beyond or behind us. In those that are ahead, there is likelihood that they will recognize that there is intelligent life on Earth as a consequence of radio and television waves broadcasting into space. These waves are going to be intercepted eventually, and down comes a message to Earth. What are we going to say to such a creature? Well, do you know that there are universities and colleges offering courses on extraterrestrial biology and extraterrestrial communication, trying to figure out what to say to these creatures from outer space? So let's look at this episode with these things in mind, because we're going to see a galactic federation on a relatively backward planet called Peladon. And tell me, if you were Alpha Centauri, would you be willing to admit Earth into the Galactic Federation? Hello, I'm Jim Dator, and this is the very last episode of The Curse of Peladon. Now, Peladon, as you recollect, is a planet that is trying to be admitted into the Galactic Federation and is hosting a conference of delegates from the Federation to decide whether they should or should not be admitted. And the Doctor and Joe are there. They are mistaken as the delegates from Earth to try to watch over the whole proceedings, because the king is in favor of being admitted into the Federation, but his high priest Hefish is not. And the Doctor, in trying to find out what is happening, because someone has threatened the life of Arcturus, and generally there seems to be a desire to upset the proceedings of the conference, in moving around in some subterranean passages, unfortunately went into the Holy of Holies and was told that he must die. In appealing that decision, he was told the only other alternative was hand-to-hand combat with the king's champion, Groon. And so he was thrown into the dungeon to await the dawn. Now, the Ice Warriors, whom the Doctor originally suspected of being guilty of trying to kill Arcturus, turn out to be the Doctor's strong supporters. And so they try to help him get out of prison. Well, he is able to get out by himself and goes back to the dungeon, to the places underneath the palace, and looks around for the mythical beast Agador, and discovers a very nice sort of huge furry hog. And he takes this information back to the king and says, your mythical beast is nothing to worry about. And the king says, well, now you've really had it. You have to go down and fight my champion. So he has the struggle, and he does, in fact, defeat the champion, but then Arcturus, whom no one suspected, threatens him with his life. Now, I think the really important point of this entire Curse of Peladon series, and especially clear at the end, is the question of tradition. Should we hold on to the old ways or should we adopt new ones? It's a very important question in our world today. The preserving old traditions or adapting new ways. Let's see. Yeah, but what's going to happen when the delegates discover that the Doctor and Joe aren't the real Earth representatives after all? Maybe Heppish was right. You can't trust strangers. You got to hold on to the old ways. Poor old Heppish. What are we going to do? Are we going to hold on to the old ways or try something new? For me, I'm definitely in favor of trying something new. But there are an awful lot of people these days that want to keep it the way it was, to, in fact, go back to the good old days. Not for me. I'm for adventure, I'm for excitement, I'm for trying out things we haven't done before. How about you?